It's a celebration. We're talking about being top best club fitters in America, talking about fittings, talking about all kinds of stuff, golf related equipment. Next on What's on My Drawers Golf Talk. Welcome back to the McGolf Shop. Jim McCleary here, and this is What's in My Drawers Golf Talk. Why What's in My Drawers? Because old club makers, club fitters, tremendous pack rats, and I'm no different. It's about what's in my drawers over there in my shop. And what we've done is we've been talking about golf equipment, fittings, repairs, and opinions, reviews, you name it, and some other topics. And we're going to get started. So, number one, how about the Open, huh? Well, my. Congratulations, Mr. Harmon. Even after all the crap that he was given by the crowds, stepped out to a lead, never let it go. Not bad for a man that's not very tall in stature, and he's a lefty. And I was listening to the XM radio, and they were throwing out some pretty interesting stats on Mr. Harmon. That from 2017 in, that dude doesn't have. Not many people have a much better record in majors than he does. With second place, top 10 finishes, that kind of stuff. I mean, the dude's been supremely consistent. He just never brought home the trophy. Well, today that's a little different, and that's good for him. So congratulations to Mr. Harmon. All righty. So unlike most days, I did not take any pictures of all the stuff that we did. We cranked it out this week. Several sets of irons going to several places. And we're going to talk about a build I've got coming up and see what a good topic would be for it. Anyway, just to keep you informed, we still got hats. They're going quick, but we still have them. I have a build, and it's on a Tiger Woods set of tailor-made irons. They're blades, obviously, and I've been asked to put some LA golf shafts in them and make them, certain swing weights and all that other stuff. However, we measured everything, and it came out. The shafts came out under spec, and it took us about 2 days to figure out what the spec was. We had to get a letter directly from LA Golf, and it's under spec by 2 grams, but the spec has got a range of 3 grams, so that's a 5-gram difference. Now, I will say they were all very, very, very close, within a gram of each other. They were just all very, very light, so 5 grams light. Now, when you're talking a golf shaft, that's about a half of a swing weight point, maybe a little bit more. But now we're talking total weight, and the golfer has a golf club that they like very much. It has that same shaft in it. Well, if it's at the normal weight of about 100 grams, that could be noticeable. Could be, maybe, we'll see. So that's what. So we're gonna make them, but so it's building a set of irons. And I've already had to clean out all the hosels, and I've had to ream them out to accept the new shaft. So this ought to be an interesting build. So there we go. All right. So this week, Mrs. McGolf actually went golfing with me. She didn't actually go golf. She just rode in the cart, and she was busy taking pictures as usual. And so this is going to be us taking a quick trip around the golf course. I don't know if I showed you this one or not before. That's number 12. And man, oh man, it looks like something just before a Mad Max movie, but it was really cool how the sun was beating down on it. All right. So if we get going around, this is number 11. That's a par 3 going downhill. And we had a 6:30 type tee time. This is number 3. Big, long, kind of not a real long par 4, but a nice par 4. And this is number 5. And you see there's a bunch of stuff there in the middle of the fairway. That's a creek, and you have to clear that creek, which is right around 200 yards, in order to get over top of it. So it can be a man eater, but for the most part, it once you get it over top of it, it's pretty easy. This is number 9, and this is a par 5, a way big downhill. That's about 250 out from there. This is me getting warmed up, swinging 2 sets of irons just so I can make sure my body moves. And there's the first tee. That's me getting out there. I actually threw it out there a little bit. This is walking up onto number 2. Now, here's where it gets interesting. That was where you saw me walking, that was a 54-foot putt. And every one of these greens got a break in it. And every time I played it, they didn't break. They just didn't break. And so what I did there was I played it off to the right, and it stayed to the right about 3 foot. And then, of course, I tap in. However, what I did is I was like, you know what? I know if there's no break, I threw another ball down, hit it straight to the hole, and I dropped it from 54 foot. It just, it's one of those things. It never does it like that, but it did for me that day. And it was going to be like that all day, come to find out. Alrighty, so, and there's me finishing it off. Oh no, that's a different hole. That's another par 3, and I actually rolled beyond it, so that was me coming back. Actually made that one. That was pure luck. This is a par 3. This is number 8 going uphill. That's 160 yards. It plays every bit of that and some. When I got up there, I was off to the right, chipped onto that far, made that putt. And here's Mrs. McGolf's pride and joy shot right here, catching a wedge on number 11. No, 13, sorry, number 13. Catching the ball in the air, hitting a wedge. Alrighty, and that's where this is. I can't remember this. Oh, this is another par 3. This is looking down. That's how my putts were all day. There's that number 12 again. They're working on the tee box, thankfully. There's on the back 9. We're getting ready to throw one out there. The funny part here is I am aimed all the way to the left, and I can't see it. And you know what? It went left. How about that? And I got right to there. So I get what I pay for. Yeah, so here's another one of those examples of taking two shots. The ball that's closest to you as you're looking at it, that was the first putt. And there's a shelf there. You can't quite see it this way, but you can see it the other way. And I wanted it to ride along the edge of the shelf and come on down. And it caught the lip, it caught the top of it, and it kept going this way to the where you see it's closest to you. Second putt, I threw one and it did hit the shelf, and that's where it went. So yeah, I had to do a lot of that. This is one of the biggest bending putts I ever had. It was about a 4-footer. And last but not least, there was another one of my putts from way back where, and I went for a big bending break on that one. It always breaks to what would be away from me. Of course, went straight as an arrow, and it didn't do anything. I had 3 putts on that round. I shot an 81. 3 putts. Now, it's hard to get mad at that because 2 of the 3 putts, the second putt went in, swirled around, and popped right back out. They just wouldn't go in. It's one of those days where it's just not your day, right? That's just what it was. And Mrs. McGolf was impressed by the fact that my mind did not, or my brain didn't blow out of my top of my head, but it was a good day. I'm glad she came. All righty. So there's that. So as far as the builds go, we did a bunch of irons that were into the build process, and in fact, to the point I got done, except for this Tiger Woods one, but I wasn't sure if the quality of the shaft was where it needed to be. I think we're gonna talk with them directly before we do a build to make sure we're good to go. And bingo, best golf fitters. So we got named. It's 7 in a row. I don't know how many people are keeping track of that particular stat, but we've been on it ever since. We thank Golf Digest very, very much. We like it. Now, in that, if you guys type in America's Best Clubfitters, the Golf Digest article will show up. And okay, there's a long list from every state. It is what it is. However, before it, there's an actual article about fitting and different questions that you get asked for fitting. And Robin said, "You know that you're in here again?" I'm like, "No, what?" And the very first question they ask, I've answered. So not only am I in there once, but I'm in there twice. So that was kind of a surprise. We're real happy and pleased to see that as well. So they trust us enough that we're going to. They trust enough that they put my answer in there. So that's a good thing. So that makes me being quoted in there maybe 4 or 5 times now. So that's a lot of fun. I mean, I'm glad it's nerve wracking for a while, and I'm glad they selected me. I'm happy. I'm honored, but I'm also it's neat to see that they would put my answers up there as well, since there's so many good club fitters out there. All right, last topic, and then we'll get to it. Fitting. All right, I know yesterday or last time we talked about whether or not if you're good enough for a fitting, right? And this weekend showed me a lot again. Uh, what do you do if you have an issue or a big swing fault? I had a young lady in here, wants to be on a golf team, and she's very small. And she's been playing with bigger clubs and has developed uh, a couple of swing faults based on using improperly fitted clubs. Now, this is one of those for a beginner. If you're extraordinarily short, extraordinarily tall, wide, that kind of thing, then yeah, custom clubs are going to do you some good right out of the box. So you can't develop bad habits right away. And what happens is for such a compact little golfer, her arms never got past here, and when swung through, never got past here, and hence never got the club closed, and everything was a dead push off to the right, and couldn't figure out why. And here we're hitting all these clubs. They've had all these clubs that were built for draws, right? Built for draws, and it got worse. Well, we've talked about this one, and there are some people that when they look down on certain clubs and they look closed or offset, that they try and manipulate the club to get to square, and it ends up being detrimental, i.e., pushes it off to the right. So, what I did is initially we worked with her to make her swing bigger, right? Extend out here and then finish here, right? Just to make everything wider to give it. And her swing plane, if this is straight, her swing plane was like this. It was totally from the inside, and she was getting trapped by this really, really strong grip. So we had to work on some stuff. We had to work on a grip. We had to work on bringing the club back, and then I had to get her excited enough to swing firm. I hate saying swing hard, but swing fast. Once we started doing that, she started seeing the middle of the fairway. Now, not used to it, and this is one of those things when people just get used to certain things that it literally hurts when you do it correctly. This was one of those cases. So we had to keep repeating and keep reinforcing the good shots. And then we figured out she was one of those people that saw an offset club as detrimental. And so I gave her a club. This is literally what would be a gal that shoots in the 60s, and I fit her into a Mizuno 225 or a smaller paradigm, which has very little offset. Killed them both and was very weight sensitive. So what's the lesson here? The lesson is that if you come in with a particular swing fault and it's preventing you from making good swings, does that mean you're going to get a good fitting? Well, if they don't address the swing fault, the answer is no. You need to address the swing fault. Now, does it have to be solved? No. As long as we can get you into making good contact and you're bringing all the shots back into areas or specs, then that fitter's given you the tools to do better. That's really the thing, and working them out. That's what we try to do. My second fitting for that time frame was a very big young guy swinging super duper hard, and we were just checking lofts and lies, and he was pushing the ball too. And I was like, "What's going on here? You never push the ball." And he was, and he just couldn't for some reason was coming in open, and it was causing pain. So I said, look, we'll just do lie angle testing, and then we'll worry about gapping later when you get it all straightened out. That was a trade. I said, okay, no problem. So we did that. Now, My last little bit, and from a fitting perspective, uh, I converted to the Jumbo Max grips on my irons and my driver. Now, in both cases, the reason why I did this, in both cases, my miss was a tremendous pull. I would get the club close, and it would be just tremendous pull out of nowhere. And I've got to say, by going to these Jumbo Max grips, now they're a little bit lighter in the hand, a little bit heavier in the head. Um, I am not doing that. In fact, I am straighter or even a bit of a push. Not a big one, but it's really weird to not be hitting the right side of the everything I'm targeting. So if you're out there and you have issues with pulling or overhooking, that it's not a fix, but its potential could help you out in that a larger grip could stop a lot of that if you find out that it's club closure. Now, the other part could be true as well. If it's too big and you can't get it around, you might need to shrink the grip a little bit. And that's a commonplace. So there you go. So thank you guys for those who've supported me for the or us for the club fitters. We appreciate it. With thanks to Golf Digest and salute. All right, let's get to answering some questions. All right, all the way to the top. Here we go. Matt's first up. 79 out of the box, Tennessee National, and they went back and shot a 74 at the local club. What a great course in Tennessee. Nice. I'm glad you enjoyed it. 79. So tell me about this one. Did you guys notice that? I mean, what I'm seeing now is I play Crown Hill. It is in very good shape, as you guys saw. I like the undulations and the things that we're seeing, but uh, I'm starting to get that course familiarity score where they're starting to go down. And then when you go anywhere else, you got to add 4 or 5 shots. Is that you guys see that out there as well? Let me know. All righty. As we get into the dog days of summer, have you reevaluated your goals for the season? Ooh, that is a good question, Matt. Being how as I don't get out there as much as you do, I started out this season with just poorly struck shots, all of them, irons, everything was just bad, and my putting was right there at the lead. With this new addition, I got to tell you, this lab putter, uh, I like it. Okay, I like it. I think it helps me. At least it would show in the last 4 or 5 scores that even far putts like you saw in those pictures, most all of those were 2 putts because I was able to get it in close. And with the other putters, I was a tremendous lag putter. I'd only get halfway, maybe 2/3 of the way there. So I'm liking that part. So after some work, my driver came back just that last round, it finally came back. The irons came back. I hit some solid shots. The only thing I'm really struggling with now is my hybrid. So the goal for me is just to strike some quality golf shots because I've figured out how to keep it in front of me. So that's my goal. Better strikes on the hybrids. Emmanuel, good evening. And the rest of the McGolf guys shot a 78 last week. You are the man, Emmanuel. Thank you so very much. Going to Bull Rock, Maryland for the 70th. Well, you enjoy, buddy. Hopefully you get there. Hopefully you break your age. I don't know where Bull Rock, Maryland is since I lived there a couple of years, but I was young, so I didn't care about location. But very cool. Enjoy it. All right. If I cut a driver shaft to 44.5, it changes the flex, yes? No. And if I extend it back to 46, does the flex change back or does it stay the same as when I cut it? Okay. So manual flex is determined by 2 things, length and frequency, right? And so if you have a particular frequency at a particular length on a chart, then if you were to cut it, say that 1 inch, you'd have to go down or up the scale depending on how your chart's set up. And then you would have to see what the new frequency is, which it should, because you just made it shorter, the frequency ought to go up. However, on the line of the flex, it most likely will not change. All right. And if it does, it'll change like this much to the up. Okay. Now, going back the other way, that's an interesting question. I've really never had to extend back, but I would have to think no on that one again, only because again, these are small changes we're talking about, but uh, if you were to use the graphite extension that goes in it, I would say no, because it's not the same. Well, if you put the extension in, I'm trying to think about the stiffness of the butt section, of whether or not it would get firmer, in which case it would make it more stiff than it was beforehand. That's a good question. That's a good question. Somehow I'm still coming away with no, but you'll be close. And the reason being is, okay, now when we talk about flex and frequencies and whatnot, we talk about a shaft, right? We talk about a shaft, and uh, if we have a like a driver shaft and you nibble off a little bit to get to your frequency at a particular length, there you go. Now you're right. Then you trim off a little bit on this section, and this will get faster because it just got shorter. All right. Now there are some out there that will talk about. Now we're talking about uh, shafts or rods or tubes. There you go. We're talking about tubes. The more you add on to the back end, that means the more you've taken off of this end. This is more from an iron shaft perspective. If you take more off of this end, you have to leave more at the back in this end. It tends to get stiffer because there's a larger butt section. Now, does that happen in the driver? No. It varies slightly. The change is not frequency. So all this jabberwocky I'm just giving you here, Emmanuel, is for cut it down, no. For going up, you'll get close. That's it. Nice rounds. There's our man in California. Alrighty. Build a 719 MW driver, add 52 grams to the head, 20 in the heel, 2 in the toe, 2 in the back. 20 in the heel and toe, all right, 10 in the back, 2 inches front, 2 in front, okay. What shaft would you use with a 43-inch tempo trans average 95 would use the O open? Oh, okay. Well, so this thing starts out, if I remember what Mr. Washon talked about, he starts out at 170, so 175. So you add that's 220 and some change, which is about 20 to 25 grams more than what you need, but you're coming off 2 inches, which is 12 and 2 inches, 12 swing weight points, which is 24 grams. So that's a heck of a change. That's a heck of a calculation you got going there. And so everything being about the same, average this, that, and the other thing. Honestly, you could go with quite a bit. 95-ish, you're right on the border of a stiff, right? And a stiff that's not boardy. That's funny they say that. So something in the average stiff. Let's see what's a good one out there that you can touch. A Ventus would be one. That would be a really good one. A an AD from Golf Graphite Design. Um, if you're going to get into the Project X type stuff, well, they got that new silver out there. That would probably be it. And one more. What would be a good one? And from an Acra point of view, I would probably, if you're wanting to hit it, I'd probably put you in a VRTX, which is a clubmaker shaft, or an Acra FX in the 3.0 green, and and uh, and I would go with something around 60 grams, so that everything's about the same, and go from there. Hello, Charlie. How are you doing? Thank you. I don't know. I'd have to check about the. I'd have to check on the 719 and on all the weights. I know they make them, so yeah. New Jersey checking in. There you go. 5'7". It was funny because you got out there. I saw a couple of pictures, and all the rest of the golfers, those dudes are 6 foot plus. He just looks a whole lot shorter. But being out there in the UK where he's at, you would have thought he would have just fit right in. High handicappers, are we better off with something like a JPX 93 high launch versus a hollow head style iron? Like any good fitter would tell you, X, it depends. It depends. Why does it depend? Like I was talking to you about on this fitter with this young lady. It depends on how you see it, right? If you use the Mizuno line as an example, the 923 HLs, they're called high launches. So unless you're a slow swinger, then no, it wouldn't use the high launch. It would use the regular hot metals. Okay, and because the high launches are weaker, and the whole idea for them is to get them up into the air. The if you're an average swinger, regular or even more than that, then the JPX 923 hot metals would be just fine. And then the other one that they have is that 225, which is a itchy, sorry, which is a very forgiving head in its own right, but it doesn't have as much soul. So if you're a big divot taker, then I would go with the hot metal. If you're a picker, then I would go with the 225. Now, the hot metal is going to be a stronger club, so most likely you hit a little bit further. So if hitting it further is more of a thing for you than the other, unless they're willing to bend them stronger, which is dubious in its own right, uh, then the hot metal would be better. All right. Texting from SoCal, so too freaking hot to play this week. Too hot in SoCal? Come on. I thought it never got that bad. Well, thanks for joining us, buddy. 80 and 85 this weekend. Charlie, those sound like good ones to me. Oh, he's got 104 out there, huh? Oh, that can't be good. Charlie, fun trip, very hard course. All right. Yeah, maybe we can, Matt's coming down again, so maybe we can get him to bring some pictures. There's my sis. Not yet, and there, as you can tell by the blowout right here where all the sun is at, we kept getting told that at 5:15, which was 45 minutes ago, that we were supposed to get something. Now they did get some clouds, but they're since gone. All right. PZ's been to Hemet, California. Oh no, not heat stroke. Heat stroke is bad. Heat stroke is really, really bad. And I know because I've suffered it at least once myself. And yeah, I don't like it much either because once you get it, you're always susceptible. So you need to stay cool or stay even when you're outside, keep that water with you so you stay cool. Oh, there's some stories come back at you. Yep. The club doctor is back here. How are you, sir? That number 12 brings back memories of playing San Diego with a heavy marine layer. Yeah. Yeah. You know what? You wouldn't be wrong. You have to holler back at the group to let them know you're in the fairway so that they can clear up. Yeah, there's a couple out here that have those big old school bells where they rotate through and they clang real big, and you just on just as you're getting ready to go, you hit it, because you once you're in there, you better take off because those other guys won't take any pity on you. So very good. Our man Jack King, how are you, sir? How's a very warm getting warm Lombard. Yeah. So here in southern Ohio, it's been 91 to 95 the last couple of days, and it's supposed to stay like that for the fall, this whole week. So, and with all the humidity, it's never any fun. Duque shot 76 and 80. Nice. Is there a glove you prefer? I use those are the Master Grip gloves, and they're awesome for $8. They last 40, 50 rounds, no problem. Well, personally, Duke, I'm not a Master Grip fan, but if they last that long, then hey, have a day. I'm kind of a spoiled baby when it comes to those things. There's Callaway had what was called the not day tripper, but it started with the day, and it was a leather on one side, synthetic on the other. It fit kind of tight, and it still had some grip. That was a long lasting one for me. Um, day. Oh, I'll get it here in a minute. Anyway, they changed the way that they changed the model. It was a very, very nice glove. I used them all the time for several years, and they changed this model. I wasn't real happy with them, so I went to their tour model, and I really wasn't aware of the huge difference this glove was in that it was all cabretta leather. It was much, much softer and had a totally different feel than the other one, where I didn't have to really squeeze the grip that much. Now, I will say this: when I had the smaller grips, I was a regripper. I was a regripper. My name is Jim, and I was a regripper. And right here, because of doing this, right there, that was my wear point. Right, that was my wear point. Now, because of these bigger grips and holding it in a different fashion, much, much different. I wonder if I can show you. Here it is. I gotta watch it because my bag has this tendency to want to tip over. Okay, so this this glove here is going on 3 months. All right, 3 months, and you can see this is it right here, and now it's right where I'm holding it, right, and I'm still laying and I'm still, after 4 months, it's just now starting to get right there, and that's on the thing. So even with the bigger grips, I can figure out how to regrip it. What that is turning it loose. Turning it loose. So I'm holding it like this now instead of like that. And but it's wearing pretty good after 3 months now. So yeah, I'm real happy with it. And it feels different. It's a lot softer. Okay. That's for me. Now, before that, it was all the FootJoys and of several different varieties. I like those, but I never really gave. I just the day one that starts with a day. Those are my favorite. They're even longer lasting. All right. you're you're telling me, dude. I walked off a bunch that the number started with a 4 or 5. There's some pretty decent sized greens. It was crazy, and that's even on the last hole. Uh, last hole, I would call that a medium sized green. I still paced off a 36 on that one. Yeah, so Charlie, what that's for is we've seen them before around here. They're very common, but for guys using range finders, if they're not hitting the big flag, you can hit the little flag. And sometimes it's used for marketing and that kind of thing. Herman S. 81's not bad. What's your handicap? I'm left-handed. That's my handicap. That's at least what I tell you. Oh, I don't even know what it turns out to be. I've been saving it because I don't have a for real handicap, and this is just those are the three that so far, and I got another three. So I think you got to have six, is it, in order to establish? So now I just got to go onto the internet and make it happen. That was one of my things I was going to do this year. Yes, sir. Thank you so very much. Yeah, it's kind of different that way. Uh, I will see here in a minute. I saw you walking through the door, by the way. All right. PZ, congratulations on your seven. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Mrs. McGolf, I see you getting through there. Thank you, Charlie. Thank you, Club Doctor. Thank you, Matt. And there's Scotty. My clubs are 1 inch short. Played on Sunday, choked down another inch. Plus was taking a nice dollar bill size divots. I never. Yep. There you go, bud. Yeah. It's when you get down, Scott, when you get into that particular area, like we've said this before, is that you don't want to go half-inch increments, and we're giving you what's poor man's MOI, and you go 3/8 inch increments, and then you should be okay. And that way the uh, the pitching wedge isn't so small that it's ridiculous. All right, the little flag is put on the pin to show its place in the green. Well, there you go. There's another one. It saves the golf course from buying different color flags. Oh, okay. A club I play uses the standard red, white, and blue flags to denote position. Hell, we know they're all yellow where I'm at, so maybe that is the reason why. But I'd have to think back. I think they all got it. Peter, how are you, sir? My son and I played in a 3-day father-son tournament in Myrtle Beach, where 600 teams played. Wahoo! We placed first in our division, both gross and net. Nice, nice. And then it says, I placed overall in the senior division over 300 teams. Peter, that is outstanding. Well done. You guys are getting ready to get bombarded with that amateur tournament here pretty soon too, right? So, I mean, good luck with that, but well done, dude. That's awesome. Where'd you guys end up playing at that you got to be able to do that? 600 teams seems quite a bit. But well done. Sean Hartigan, how are you, sir? Way to go, Peter. No doubt. That's what I was saying. Tonight, as a specialty, this is a old fashioned, and it's made with Buffalo Trace, and it's a premix, and it is surprisingly smooth, and it could get your guy in trouble. All right. Help Jim. Big invitational starting Wednesday here in Duluth. Well, I'm not going to wish you luck, but I'm going to wish you well. Do very well. I'll hear good things about it next week. I play 5 different courses in my area, so not to become a course robot. There you go. That's a good idea. That is a good idea. I like to play the JCs, which is in Chillicothe. It's actually closer. And it's another very, very nice track. It's so busy because it's so popular. Other than that, I have to travel about an hour out of my way. Jim Reynolds, how are you? Came third place in our flight and our club members guest tourney. Played with my brother and had a blast. That is the way to do it, brother. That is the way to go. long as you're having fun, I'm sure it got you something. Congrats to Peter. Yep. All righty. Herman, been hooking my drives lately. Tried using a stiff shaft. That didn't work to lower loft on my stealth driver. Hopefully that will work. So when on the TaylorMade, just so you know, Herman, that when you go to lower it, it does open it, and it should do that. As much as a club fitter would tell you this, typically the hooks are coming from a couple of places. One is you're too deep from the inside, of which case I try to tell people keep the face of the club looking at the ball as much as you possibly can, and that forces you to take the club out, not back. All right, that's normally one of the biggest things that there is. Number two is that the ball placement in your stance, not necessarily high or low, but in the stance. If you've got it way out here in the front, then that could be problematic as well. About the logo of your shirt or inward, and you should be fine. All right, those are the two biggest ones. And then the last one is you I'd recheck your grip and make sure you're not too strong. And I'm just telling you, those are the big three that I see here. RSG, greetings from a hot St. Louis. It seems to be hot all over the place. 100 degrees. Woo! Yeah, that's a tough one there. Especially there in St. Louis. That Midwestern hot, that's a whole different story than an East Coast or a West Coast hot. Yep, that's another one. Henry Espinoza, how are you, sir? I'm considering creating my own progressive set with MMTs. Okay. Gap pitch 105. Okay. 9 to 7 irons and 90. Yep. And 5 and 6, 80. Do you see any possible issues? Good, bad idea. Actually, I got to think about that one for a moment. If you're staying in a standard length, Henry, that's not a bad little idea. So a progressive set. So I like the thinking here in that you're lighter in the upper set. Your middle of your set is where you would normally play. Then the pitching wedge and the gap wedge are a little bit heavier, so that you might have a little bit of control. And you're not going too crazy, right? It's only 10 gram increments, right? 10 to 12 gram increments. So yeah, I don't see that being a problem. It's a good idea. Now, I will say at the top of the set, depending on how you swing, the 86 grams, that's 90 grams. That's a pretty much a standard. If you're a smoother swinger, right? A smoother swinger, this will work out extraordinarily well. If you're what people would consider an aggressive swinger, you will not like it. It just will be too light, right? You could do every bit of what you're looking at, except for move everything to the right one, and then work your way down and get to the next level. I think there's another one in the MMTs that's a little bit heavier, and go that way. But yeah, the MMTs are nice. I'd say give it a whirl. I mean, what's it going to hurt if you don't like the two? It only costs you 2 shafts. Michael, how would you say, sir? Thank you very much. We appreciate that. And there's Herman thinking there. JP Duncan, how are you, sir? I caddied for one of my students this week in a 2-day event in Wausau. And he won. Nicely done, sir. That is a testament to the player and to the teacher and to the caddy. Good for him. Good for you. Here we go. Bull Rock is in Havre de Grace, Maryland. It's home to the PJ McDonald's Championship years ago. Okay. Very cool. Sounds north Maryland. Is that right? Sounds north. RS says, when I hit a club for the first time, I hit it great. Once I buy it, I can't hit it to save my life. It's like the club knows I own it. So, RS, so this is actually, it's funny, years ago, they did a study on this, and it's that this study has stuck with me for quite some time. You ever get in one of those situations, very much in the same way, where you get and you say you borrow your buddy's club and you just absolutely stripe it, right? You absolutely stripe it. You're like, wow, I got to get me one of those. And you get yourself one of those, and what happens is you hit it 2 or 3 times. There's a month where we call it the honeymoon period, where you hit it and you're just like, wow, this is the club. I'm doing really, really good. Then after the month, and the doubt starts setting in. You're like, I don't know if what did I do here? What kind of mistake did I make? And then after that, it becomes the hate period. And this is actually these guys studying this it's well documented. And so what it is, they call it the love-hate relationship for a golf club. And when you get one and you like it, what's happening is two things are happening. One, you don't have any expectation for the golf club, and you're making these really nice, easy swings or very consistent swings for you, right? And you're hitting that well. And when you miss it, you go, "Oh yeah, no big deal. That was just one," and you move on. And this goes on for a month. And then you hit two, and then you hit three, and then you hit four. And all of a sudden, the doubt starts coming in. And then all of a sudden, you stop making these nice, easy swings and you start trying to force the club to working the way that you thought it was working for you before. And now all those shots that you let go are now to the forefront right here, right there. And it's in the forefront. Now the club's not working. Why isn't it working? Well, it couldn't solely be you. It was the club because you were hitting it good before, right? So, the club didn't change. And then you get in the hate position where it doesn't do anything good and you got to get rid of it. And that's the cycle of that. Actually, that was the one of the reasonings behind why one would want to get fit. Uh, anyway, so what happens, RS, is when you get into this, uh, particularly if you've been fit, don't expect any more out of the golf club than when you started, right? And we as golfers, and that's what I run into it. I see it, whether you're guy, girl, young, middle age, old, it doesn't matter. Everybody does it. Everybody does it. And what do they do? They'll get in there and they will literally stripe one. They will literally stripe a shot and they'll go, and it will be the best shot they've ever seen, the best numbers we've ever looked at. And I'm like, wow, that was really good. He goes, yeah, that was effortless. And the very next thought is, I got 10 more yards in that swing. And they go and do that. And so what do? You hear, bah, and all these different weird sounds start coming out of the golfer, or this different effort comes out of this golfer, and it's a dribbler, or it's one off to the outer, or pop up, or whatever. And they're like, but I just hit this really good one the time before. Yeah, but that's because you hit a really nice swing. You did everything you were supposed to, and you thought you were going to eke out, wring that towel out, and get a little bit more out of that golf club. Not. And that's the part. And I always have to let them fail once so that they know where they're at. This is what fittings here are a learning exhibition, right? So that they can take stuff to the course, because what we also tell them is, the idea here is not to suffer paralysis by analysis. The idea is, oh, you shot one off to the right or to the left. Oh yeah, I remember Jim telling me about that. That's fine. I know what I did. You walk up to the next shot and wham, and you're back into it again. That's what it is. Hell, it took me 20 years to figure that one out myself. So we're all very guilty of that one. But that's normally where it comes from. Henry, happy Monday. John Cherry from Myrtle Beach. Hello. With Sean, EQX1X clubs. Yep, your opinion, please. I currently play one iron golf single length, but they only offer steel shafts for all swing speeds. Well, that's kind of horrible. So, Mr. John, I have made several sets with the EQ, and I like them. Okay. Much in the tradition of the Sterling model before that, the upper ends in this particular case are more of a hollow body design until they get to a full on regular one piece design. And I like their looks. Uh, they're not going to win any design shows by any shape of the imagination, but they're very nice. They actually work very well. I can only imagine. I've only seen some of the one irons from a design, and if the design is any inclination of how they play, then the Wishon clubs ought to smoke them. And particularly when you want to put in a graphite shaft if you're choosing in it. I don't know how much more I can get to that. All right. Golf swings from Toronto. Hello there, sir. I forgot to tell Mrs. McGolf this one, but uh, we have some friends, longtime friends. They were up in Canada this weekend, and their boat trailer blew out a wheel bearing, and so they had to come down, pick up a trailer, turn around, go back, pick up this trailer with a boat on it, put it on the back of this trailer, and trailer it back. So in the span of 2 days, they had basically 32 hours on the road. That was pretty impressive. All righty. Curious, how Nippon Modus 105, Modus 120, Modus 1, oh, the NS Pro 150s compare. What sort of player would you suit? 120 seems to have a unique profile. It does. And 105 more linear. You are not too far off, sir. So, starting with the 1150, which is literally a 115 shaft, and all the NS line have softer butt sections. So if you're a smoother swinger and like a heavier type club, that would be the way to go. All right. The 105 is a much more aggressive shaft. It's a good weight for somebody that loads hard and lets go late. And you don't have to be too aggressive, but you could if you wanted to because it's still heavy enough to be felt. I've played those, and I don't know if you've seen my swing. I'm not a massive hard swinger, but I only come back right to about here, and I pull down and I get through, and it worked fine for me. So, in fact, if I was playing a 105 shaft, that would be the one I go for. Uh, the Modus 120 is exactly what you think is. So what it does, it has a softer midsection. It is very tight in the butt, very tight in the tip, and it's got a softer midsection. So those guys that like a heavier shaft but are softer in the loading, and it gets up into the air, it just feels way, way, way more comfortable than most of its counterparts. Now, if you're looking for something that was still heavier in that 120 gram range, that you were looking, and the 120, by the way, runs 115 to 117. So it's not necessarily all 120. But if you're looking for something that's like 105 but a little heavier, look at the 125 and you will like that. So there you go. There you go. And the Charlie likes the 105, and yep, you can bring it around. All righty. There's Al from the Space Coast. Hope you're doing well, sir. Weather in the UK is very wet, not good for playing. Well, if we saw one on TV that very last day, if it was any indication, sir, I'd agree. I would agree. I guess it was coming down pretty good. When you got to turn your hat back around to prevent the water from flowing off the top of your brim, the rain's coming down. I was telling a story. Me and Mrs. McGolf were out at Drumorland, and it took off, and it was nice. Came down like cats and dogs for about 4 or 5 holes, and then tapered off by the time we rolled in. And of course, she didn't have any gear with her, so I gave her my top, and I had a vest of sorts to that I had underneath. and I kept the bottoms, and we both were soaked, so it didn't really matter. But I was like, man, we could turn in. And then I looked up in front of us, and there was this young man, I mean, school age, like a grandson, and this elderly lady walking with him in the middle of all this. And I thought, there is no way I'm going to let this old lady and this young kid not walk off before me. And they took it like real troopers, and they did the whole thing, and they played it, and it made me have an appreciation of folks in the UK to be able to play in different situations. So, hoorah! All right, Sonic. I'm having such a hard time reaching more than 140 yards with my Epic Pro 8-9 irons, but have no problem hitting centers with my buddy's Maverick Pros. Is it me or is it the club? No, sir. The Maverick Pros are much the Maverick Pros. I think about that. I would think Sonic that you'd have to check the lofts. Mavericks as a whole were much more stronger than the Epics. Okay, the Epics were more traditional in the pros than the Mavericks. The Mavericks were the first introduction to those super strong clubs, and their pro models followed with them. Just like the Rogues, I got the Rogue Pros, and it's the same thing, right? They're stronger. They're stronger hollow bodied clubs, and they are stronger lofted. Oh, here we go. Adrian, how are you, sir? From a very cold Canberra, Australia. Not great for golf. -7 Celsius this morning, 18 Fahrenheit. Yahoo. Yeah, that's cold. Well, stay warm, stay inside, I suppose, right? And hopefully we get warmed up. But thank you for watching on early morning. Sounds awesome. Bill Nauman, how are you, sir? Congrats on the award. Thank you. Good to see a lefty win such a big tournament. Yeah. So I tell you what, if you did you get to see did you guys get to see there was a whole bunch of history breaking categories with this, with the biggest win in a long time from the first round, second round, third round. You have to go back 90 years to see something that was the same. And who was it? He was the UK's number one there for the longest while. You had to go back that far, right? And 90 years. Left-hander doing that. First time in a long time that a left-hander won there, and apparently a left-hander won in the other tour. So there was another good thing going on. So yeah, there was just a truckload of categories that you're going to see Brian Harman's name on for certain for the win. So it's really cool to see that. I'm glad he did. And they're all, I don't know, they weren't complaining too much, but you get stuck in those big monster bunkers, and that became problematic. The only problem is everybody else had to play the bunkers too. So if you found yourself in them, that was your fault. And I only saw one highlight, and it was of Jordan Spieth getting out of it. Had that wedge laid wide open, and took the biggest cut he could put on it without bending his club. Popped that sucker clean out, and you know what? Probably the only guy he could do. He's the only guy that could do that. Ryan Crow, thank you, sir. Thank you very much. You got very much so, Charlie. Very much so. That's why she's got her own station now. You do outstanding work, Robin. Love the way you install the grips. Stop it. That was pretty good, man. Oh, you smooth talker, you. Hey, there's my man from Omaha, GBR, man. GBR. I didn't know if Robin told you, but that's where I was born. So yeah, it's this one I'm waiting on it. So and you're more than welcome, sir. So I don't know if Robin's told you, the whole idea here is I was all about putting your clubs together, and then I did the specs, and what caught me off guard was this thing says 105 and it was weighing 95. That seemed odd to me. And so we went looking, and the only thing we could find in the spec was 101 was a number. And normally you don't just see that. That seemed odd too. So I emailed the company direct, and they actually answered me on Sunday to tell me it was 100 plus or minus 3, which made it 97. And all these shafts came out at 95 and some change. And they're within less than a gram. I mean, they're very, very consistent clubs, which is, I was really struggling getting rid of them because they're very consistent in their weight. And when they're consistent in their weight in graphite, chances are they're going to be really good in the club. But what I was struggling with is the swing weight. In order to get to the swing weight that we are looking at, when you go to 95 grams, I'm going to have to add weight. And when I have to do that, I literally have to drill out the tip section of this club and add the weight. And I'm not a real fan of doing that. I've done it. I'm just not a fan. And so now I've got to call in there and make sure. So we got 2 calls going on. Number one, we've told them that they're out of spec and that they got to go check their QA. And number 2, to see whether or not they're going to send us another set that's in spec. And if they are, then I have another discussion with them. So we're kind of delaying your build a little bit, sir, so that we can ensure that you get the right club. Now I've already bored them out to accept the club, and they look really, really good. I'm just waiting on the answer. So there you go. So unless you want them really, really fast, I'm wanting to make sure that they're really, really right. Okay. And if you got an idea of what you'd like to see as a topic, I'll let you pick it because I'm right there. And oh, by the way, I got Go Big Red on the side. So yeah. Okay. Duke K says I use the Grint handicap site. It does a great job. So Duke, do I need 6 or how many do I need in order to establish the handicap? That's a good question. Oh, RS says I only need 3 rounds. Okay. Well, maybe I'll get in there and next time I'll tell you what I play when I get flustered because it says I'm a 99. We'll see. John Lamb, how are you, sir? I'm a bit of a picker of the golf ball. Okay. If I go to Florida, I usually play my 525 irons. Okay. Back home in Calgary, I play my Rogue Pros. Any thoughts on the sole size? So I-525s and Rogue Pros. Yeah, the 525 is a wider sole. This is not the super duper wide one, but it's the players one. I believe is the players one. It's not so egregious that it would be tremendously different than the Rogue Pro. That's what I got right in. Oh, watch this. That's what's sitting in those clubs right there. So I know what you're talking about, man. I don't think that that's going to be a huge difference. Now, if I'm missing out and the eyes are the really, really wide soles, then yeah, you're not gonna like it much because that back end, the trailing edge is going to engage and it's going to cause the club to do that, and you're not going to like it, and then you're going to start tilting and trying to, press it out, and it's just not going to feel right. However, if it's just a little bit narrow or a little bit wider, and not super wide like those pings can do it sometimes, then I think you'll be fine because Florida, as you know, is sandy. Everything's low cut and that kind of stuff. Now, what you could get away with is, if you figured out how to change your swing a little bit to not be such a picker and actually thump it into the grass because you're going to bounce straight out. Now that's a lot to ask. It really is. So if it's a little bit narrower, like I think it is, then no, I don't see having a problem. If it's those big, wide game improving ones, yeah, it's going to be a problem. Old guy plays bass. How are you, sir? Glad to see you make it on. Glad we got some new names. Well done. Peter, 600 teams. Yikes, I wonder what it took. Yeah. Good call, man. Good call. All right. Jim, you can't beat Buffalo Trace Small Batch Excellent Bourbon. So, John, I think this stuff is pretty doggone smooth, except for Finding Buffalo Trace or any of the other ones that go with it around here is next to impossible. So somewhere along the lines, I've got to convince Mrs. McGough to go on that Bourbon Trail because it's only like 3 hours south of here, and then we go and find some. That would be awesome. Okay, that's the end of it. But I do like it. I'm more of a Scotch guy, but that stuff is very, very smooth. It's very easy to get pour down. It was really nice. There you go. Elijah Craig small batch. Now I've seen Elijah Craig out there around, Charlie, but I just never have picked any up. I've got several. I picked up. You guys tell me, is Michter's any good? And Weller's. I've got one of each because I saw somebody on YouTube with it, and I just picked it up because I saw it because I normally don't. And so we'll see what that's all about. All right, here we go. Peter's going to give us some more info. 6 different courses: Shaftesbury, Glen. Hey, we're going to play there. Prestwick, played there. Crow Creek, not played there. 3 different formats: best ball, cap's choice, modified, alternate shot. -21. You go, boy. That's awesome. So what was Shaftesbury Glen about? Because we got to pick some. We've been to all the plantation courses now. We've been to uh, the TPC and all those. And now we're into the Shaftesbury Glen and the other Glendernach, I'm supposedly, and a couple other very similar style courses, not too far away from where we're at. So, tell me what you think. All righty. I play the 950 Neos from 7 to A, 4 to 6, 850 Neos, half inch over, works well for him. Well, there you go. There's another plus there, partner. There's another one there that goes with that. Now, the Neos are a little bit different. The Neos are a slightly stiffer version of the NS line and a very, very, very good shaft. I'm surprised we don't sell more of those. All righty. Henry, you are more than welcome, sir. Come back and join us. Ping ZZ shafts are made by Nippon for Ping. I had no idea. I think I actually might have a whole set of those. I've got a box sitting in there. This is a good what's in my drawers lead in. I have got a set of 2 sets. I might have some JZs or ZZs. I got some JZs for sure pulled from Ping clubs, and I'm just sitting in this box. All right. The World Am is scheduled a week before Labor Day, except to have over 4,000 golfers played over 50 golf courses. Yeah, that one is a biggie right there. So for anybody who thinks that they're going to go and play on golf on the week before Labor Day at Myrtle Beach, you have another thing coming, because just as Peter has said, 4,000 golfers. I've been down there on the other side of it when the PCS used to do services for golfers that were down there, and we do regrips and bends and things like that for other people. And I was basically I'll say a junior member at that particular time, and the older guys were the ones doing the shaft pulls and stuff like that because they knew all about it. I'm like, okay. And they relegated me to the loft and lie and putting grips on, and we can only put grips on with that lanolin stuff. And lanolin only takes 1 or 2 squirts because it's literally oil, right? And it doesn't decide to go away very fast like solvent. They didn't want to let solvent in there because of its flammability issue. And the gentleman next to me that was doing it, he was filling it up and pouring it out and shoving it on. I'm like, dude, no, only 1 or 2 squirts, you'll be fine. No, that's the way I always do it. And I said, well, yeah, if you got 2 days, these guys are playing tomorrow, so you want to be careful. Yeah. So the best story I have for this one is a guy from New York wanted me to bend his irons, and so he handed me this list of, this is what I want them bent to. And he says, "You'll bend them?" I said, "Well, sure. Why wouldn't I?" And so I put him in the machine, and he and I are bantering back and forth, as New Yorkers would do with most folks. Their idea of talking with people, it would be a lot more, we'll say, gruff than somebody in the Midwest, you know, and so we're throwing it back and forth, and we're having a good time. And we were talking, and we were throwing down some smack, and they were talking some good stuff, and it was just going on and going on and going on. I said, now here, check this. You like that? And you go, yeah, yeah, yeah. And we're talking, and about halfway through the set, I look up, and there's a crowd around me, and they're 4 or 5 deep, just watching me bend irons, and I'm like, what is the big deal? I'm just bending an iron, right? And he and I were. It was like it was all like Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. We were having at each other, and it was so much fun. And we got all done. They started applauding. And I was like, oh my God, look at this. And then the food that they have there is out of this world. Out of this world. So it's definitely worth it if you get a chance. All right. 6 inches between the ears, toughest place on the golf course. Truly. Truly it is. And as an example of that, Charlie, we have a gentleman here in Southern Ohio that qualified for the British British Senior Open by shooting a 63 up at Firestone. Now this cat has had skills for years, except for that 6 inches between his ears, and apparently it's only taken him 50 years to figure that out. And so I expect very, very good things, because this guy he can golf the ball. And I fully suspect that we'll see his name on a leaderboard, and then hopefully it just doesn't fall off. Scotty, besides loft, what are the main improvements from the Wishon to the D9 forged irons? So they're a different construction altogether, Scott. The C300s were a design from Verska, which was a different designer. He's with Callaway now. Good guy. And the 300 was more of a follow-on from an Adams club, where the D9 forged has got a larger sole, a bigger face, and stronger lofts. They also have the C300s don't sport the power holes where the D9s do, to give you a little bit more of that, right? More face flex, and that's really what it's for. Bigger face, stronger lofts, a little bit easier to hit because it's bigger, and wider sole. All right. John Cherry, Harv de Grace. I hope I said that right. Haver de Grace, Northeast. Yep, Hartford County. I lived in Hartford before moving to Myrtle Beach 7 years ago. Well, there you go. It is in the Northeast, so I must have lived in the Southwest. Good deal. Pro Turners has around, and the fans in the stands did the same thing. Good for them. At least they're learning something. All righty, what do we got here? Ed Adrian Adretta, do people in Australia hunt kangaroos like we hunt deer in the Midwest? And does it taste like chicken? Oh, man, here we go. Here we go. Oh, my man from Go Big Red says, no worries if it's a little light. I have a 4-iron C9 and it's fine. Okay, well, we'll look at that. I'm not gonna cut them just yet, because I want to be able, if they're going to send me other ones, I will take those first before I send the other ones back. All righty. There's my buddy Bob. We're going to have one of these days. He's convinced me to come, and we're going to go to a breast cancer awareness scramble, otherwise known as Save the Tatas. And we're going to wear some pink. It ought to be fun. Dennis Hood, what do you say, sir? It's been a while. I was wondering what putter Harmon was gaming. I heard he used a mirror putter board for practice. I don't know. I didn't see it. I saw just a little bit of a pickup, and it looked to be like a spider, but I'm not sure. Now, the mirror putting board for practice, what that's for is to make sure you have eye alignment. So you're looking over it so that you can see where your eyes are at, and making sure that you're not, so you get this feel of where you're at, up or back, in order to make sure that you're correct. Dean Anderson, congratulations to us. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Harmon using the Spider CB. Look at that. Yep, let's look at that. Where everybody's answering that one. Oh, yes, they have bore throughs. 8 through gap. I play them now. Okay. Playing tomorrow. Missed my tee times last week because of heavy rain. Ready to get out. I know what you're feeling, man. I know what you're feeling. I missed one on rain, and I was just like, man, are you looking around? What am I going to do today? Oh, I haven't shown you guys any barbecue lately. Yesterday, I threw a couple of ribs on, a couple of baby backs. It was a really big rack, well, a really small rack, and a really big rack. And the small rack cooked really fast. I was really kind of weird about that one. So I tried to make them come off very close to one another, and by moving them around on the grill, and not bad. They weren't my most awesome, but they tasted pretty good. Yes, yes. Okay. Looks like we got to the bottom. We got to the bottom. Okay, guys and gals, thank you so very much for watching. We went all around the world on this one. In the US, Canada, Australia, into the UK. It was awesome. I appreciate every last one of you guys staying tuned and talking golf equipment with us. It is absolutely fantastic. It is true. I mean, really, I do. You hear that, and it's a lot of lip service, but no, really, I do think it's great. So again, thank you for the congratulations on winning the was it Best Club Fitters in America. Now they changed the tune. It used to be the top 100, and then it's Best Club Fitters. Now it's Best Club Fitters in America. What doesn't matter the way it's labeled, it's still an honor, and I'm glad to receive it. And I thank you for the congratulations. Now, if you go out there, have some fun playing golf, shoot some low scores, and as always, let's see your scores go low.